Funding for your career is provided by
Miller Media Group. Education for life.
I'm Kathy King, and today our guest is Theresa Clifton, who is the Executive Director of the Brevard Humane Society. And Theresa, welcome. I guess the first question I would ask you to tell our viewers is how the Humane Society got started and how you became director, because I think that's very interesting.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having me on your show today. It was actually formed by in 1952, the City of Cocoa mayor and the
Good for him.
county circuit court judge, and the movers and shakers back then, which was before the Space Center was incepted and before the port was more than a sleepy little fishing village. It was lumber mills and orange groves. It was a very different time back then, and we grew mosquitoes big. I understand. I wasn't around, but I understand that.
Couldn't get those in the Humane Society.
No. So,
well, how did you get involved? How did you come to be the executive director?
Yeah,
well, I know they split off into different humane societies. How many are there in the county?
Actually, there is just it was the Central Brevard Humane Society, and we were established in 1952 out on Clear Lake Road, which is now a Clear Lake Animal Hospital. In 1963, the county commissioners granted the property on Cox Road to the Humane Society, and we were known as the Central Brevard Humane Society because we covered from Mims to Palm Bay. And when I was young, my family's been in Brevard County for 6 generations now.
Wow.
Yeah, we seem to love it here, and we just stayed. So when I was a little kid, I would go out to Cox Road, and that's where we adopted our pets from. And so as we grew, when I became an adult, I started volunteering there. And in the 1990s, I joined their board of directors and got more involved. And then in 2004, I kind of found myself at the helm. And the executive director at that time had retired, 35 years worth of service. Yes, Clara Gundy. She was probably the first animal welfare advocate in Brevard County, and she retired, and so they were looking for someone, and somehow it just ended up being me. And I left my job at the Space Center and thought, I can do this, I can make something out of it, something better. And
you have.
And today we're a no-kill facility, and we take awesome care of animals. And I want to say that the rest is history, but
well, explain to our viewers what a no-kill shelter is, because I'm sure that it is what the name says, but there's more to it than that, I'm sure.
Absolutely. The term throws people off because there is no 100% no-kill. No-kill refers to never taking the life of an animal, letting it die through natural causes. But as humans, we have that ability to help an animal pass without suffering. Unfortunately, we can't do that for humans because it's illegal, but you can do it for animals. And people bring us their dog with cancer or their cat with tumors, and they're suffering. And so we give them an injection. We have a chapel on the shelter grounds, and they get to say goodbye with dignity and respect, and their pet passes peacefully through a lethal injection, and they're not suffering anymore.
Right, but
And
it's not a random
Right,
killing
right,
of dogs and
no.
cats just to keep the numbers down.
True, and this was the practice for the animal welfare field for the United States for years and years and years up until the late 1999, 2000 timeframe. Educated people, not that we're not educated, but people that studied it, that came out with new significant findings, and we discovered that it's a puzzle, and if you have all the pieces, then it works. And the no-kill concept basically is to educate the community, spay and neuter cats and dogs to prevent them from having unwanted litters, and in the shelter environment, instead of you bring them in, you bring them out, they get adopted or they get put down, you create a foster program for those animals that we say they don't kennel well. Well, that means that they mentally are unable to handle the kennel environment. But they do nicely, they do nicely in your home. So if you would love to have puppies all the time, or to have a dog in your house that will get adopted by someone else, then it works out perfectly, because the more foster homes you have, the more the shelter has room to bring in those other animals, and you don't have to put any down. Our shelter will hold 200 animals.
Oh my gosh.
200 animals is a lot of animals. And if
How many
we're
foster
always full,
families do you have?
right now we have 89 animals in foster.
Oh my goodness.
They are, a majority are small kittens, because this is kitten season, and unfortunately they're still out there making more. So,
well, let's talk a little bit about that, because we were
Okay.
talking about that before the show, and I
Yes.
just find that fascinating. You were telling me that I was talking about feral cats, and you were talking about how fast the cat population expands as opposed to dogs that are brought into the shelter.
Now dogs on average, female dog goes in heat up to 3 times a year, and they may or may not conceive. Cats, on the other hand, they're a little more prolific. It's kind of when they say, oh, there's like rabbits. Oh, I think they've got rabbits topped. Because a female cat at the age of 3 months can start having babies. And left unchecked, a female cat ovulates at will. She doesn't have a monthly cycle. She gets turned on and she has eggs drop, and she can get pregnant. So every other month, she could have a litter, up to 8 or 9 kittens. And so a female cat and her mate and their offspring, and they don't tend to pick one mate, so there you go. Seriously sad. In 9 years, left unchecked, they have the capability of making 11 million cats.
Do you all hear that? 11 million cats. That's a lot of cats and kittens in our county.
I would like to say that I'm over-exaggerating, but I didn't come up with those numbers. These are from the pet professionals. And if you think about it, well, yeah, even if only half the litter is female.
So tell us what our viewers can do to have their animals spayed and neutered, and if they have cats or find kittens or find a litter, what should they do? What should the process be for them to if they want to keep them, or if they just want to put them back out in the community, which is not really a good idea. But.
Yeah, well, we call the feral cats that are out there, we call them community cats now, because most of the colonies, which is interesting because cats are independent, so how do you colonize independence? You know, they go where the food is and then they go do their own thing. But the recommendation is to spay or neuter them, because they won't make any more. And the rule of thumb is if they weigh 2 pounds, kittens, as they grow, they gain on average 1 pound a month until they become an adult. So they're 2 months old or 2 pounds. And then we have humane traps that you can trap them in. Doesn't hurt them, it just keeps them from getting out. And you can bring them into a low-cost spay, neuter, and wellness clinic like ours on Cox Road, and we have a bundle package.
Something for everyone.
Yes, and most of the low-cost clinics do. It's like $40. It includes a rabies shot. Of course, they have to be a little older than 2 months to get a rabies shot. But we will spay or neuter. We will ear tip It's just the little triangle at the top corner we notch. So from a distance, you can tell if a cat has been spayed or neutered, and you don't have to worry about that one making any more. And if it's out in the community and you find a cat, and it's an adult cat, and it won't let you near it, then it's probably been out on its own for a long time, and you don't really have to worry about it getting fed or, oh, what's going to happen to it, because look how long it was there before you found it.
It's already survived, yes.
Yes. So.
Well, I was surprised when I was reading the website that you do have a wellness clinic behind. I didn't know that there was a clinic also with the shelter. So
Yes.
tell us what is available through the clinic.
Absolutely. And actually, the clinic came about as part of the no-kill movement. It is part of that puzzle. You have the education, you have the foster, you have rescue groups that take them out. Well, that other aspect, if you are procreating, then you're getting more back in of the ones you adopted out. So in 2005, we stopped adopting out animals until they had been spayed or neutered first. And then in 2006, we became what is termed no-kill. We do not euthanize healthy adoptable animals. And those that have an issue being in our shelter, we find foster homes for them, and then they just bring them to the events and people adopt them because they act normal in your home. They just don't act normal in a shelter because it's like a big daycare. So
Right.
the clinic itself, the concept was to make it more affordable for people who really couldn't afford it. And we are located dead center in the city of Cocoa, which has the highest population of underpaid people in Brevard County. So we built the clinic so that people could afford to have that done, because a lot of people said, I'm sorry, I'm trying to pay my electric bill, feed my 5 kids.
Right,
I
can't
can't
pay for
afford
neutering."
to pay,
Yeah.
$400 to have my dog, spayed. So we made it more affordable, and we have a veterinarian who is dedicated to spaying and neutering. She comes in twice a week, and she does the public, she does feral cats, she does the shelters animals, and we have another veterinarian who comes in 3 days a week, and he gives inoculations and shots and sees scrapes and bruises and minor things.
Wow.
Any treatment we send to any of the vets' offices that we partner with all of our vets, of course, of those offices. But to us, if we can eliminate that high overhead, because to me, underpaid people, they still deserve to have pets.
Absolutely.
And in order to do that, you have to make it affordable. So making it affordable means you have a large number that come through, and they're healthy animals, and they just, if they could have their shots and get, low cost flea medication, it keeps them healthy. And then it's a win-win. The public gets their needs met, the animals get into homes, and everybody's happy.
Everybody's happy.
It is a good thing. So
Absolutely.
that's why we built the clinic, and it is open 6 days a week, and it is growing. It does a lot of service to the public. You don't have to be a low-income individual to utilize
right.
it. We don't really care. We just want the animals to not
all about the
procreate.
animals.
Yes, and we want them to be healthy, because a healthy animal stays in a home longer. Once an animal gets heartworms or it becomes ill, people can't afford it, so they take them to a shelter, and the shelter is not equipped to care for animals and treat them. Particularly, our organization is funded only solely from the public. We do not get county tax dollars. We do not get federal funding. There is no state funding. We've operated since the get-go off of the goodness of the community. We exist because the community puts us in
Right.
existence.
I was looking at the wish list on the website, and so and there are dog wishes and cat wishes and shelter wishes, and you want to mention a couple of those just in case anybody wants to
Absolutely.
bring them out to you, because I know, as you said, you are publicly funded.
Yes.
And I know you do some fundraisers, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but what are some of the things that are on your wish list?
Yeah, it's interesting that you'd mention the wish list, because we have it from a cat perspective and a dog perspective and then the shelter perspective, and a lot of people don't think about, they think they're helping. They bring us this 50-pound bag of dog food, which is great, and we can always use that, but if all we get is the big bags of dog and cat food, it doesn't help the babies. Like, it's called KMR, and you can get it at Walmart or anywhere, but that's what we mix up for for the baby kittens to have milk. And for the baby puppies, they need Espalac. So those are items that are on the wish list. Always, we need that.
I didn't realize till I got my own puppy that there are different sizes of food. I mean, and I know that's kind of a stupid thing to say. But, you know, when you get a bag of dry dog food and the kernels are this big and your puppy's mouth is that big, it doesn't exactly go.
Yes, and of course we always ask for kitten chow or puppy chow because people think dog and cat, and so those are on their wish list. And toys.
Right,
I mean,
toys.
the
and
dogs, you know, they're looking for stuff to do, man. They don't want just food. They also want toys and to keep their mind going. And we always need leashes and collars to be able to walk the dogs.
How often does an animal, on average, stay in the shelter before it's adopted out?
Well, we get about 10 cats in for every dog that comes in, and we adopt out about 10 dogs for every cat we adopt out. So on average, it makes perfect sense. Dogs on average are with us about 3 weeks, and cats are like 3 months or 6 months, depending on the cat. Puppies and kittens, they're all adopted out within the week.
Quickly.
Yes, and they're not the issue. So we came up with an adoption rate fee.
Right.
That is, I'll call it a supply and demand fee.
I saw some mugshots on your website.
Yes. Yeah, that was probably the horses.
This is Daisy.
Yeah. Well, what we try and do is the big dogs have the harder time, and most of the big dogs that come in are between 1 and 1.5 years old because they're no longer puppies, they're no longer cute, and people didn't train them, and so now they're just big, what we call big dumb dogs.
People
and
didn't realize they were going to get big and grow up.
And well, even if they did not plan it out because they didn't train them. And when they come in and they're like, you know, my dog died and I had Jake for 15 years and he was the best dog. And so they adopt this puppy and he looks just like Jake did when he was a puppy. And of course, a year later, they bring him back, go, this dog ain't nothing like my dog was because they didn't train him and they've forgotten they had the dog so long. It did not come trained. They trained it, but we were a lot younger then. So unfortunately, it kind of goes like that in that scenario. And so the bigger dogs, we charge less for, and the small dogs, everybody wants the small dogs because the land is being built up and there's less room for people with big homes. The condos have weight limits, 30 pounds or less, 20 pounds or less. So, you know, people are they want them. So unfortunately for the big dogs, it makes it a little more difficult. So we figure, well, and then puppies, everybody wants a puppy. So we charge more for them. And there are people that it doesn't matter, size doesn't matter.
They just want a
companion. They want a companion. So when they go, oh, this big dog's $100 and those little dogs are $200, well, I'll just take this big dog. I like him, you know, we'll take him and we have room for it. So it gives them a better chance. Often? We have about a 10% on average a return rate. I think it's
although zero
wonderful.
Would be better.
Yeah, 0 would be better, but there are things that happen that people don't take into account. And the biggest one is when people find out they're allergic.
Oh,
yeah.
Gosh.
You know, I mean, they never had a pet, they want a pet, whether it's a cat or a dog and it's the dander, you know, it gets up in their nose, whatever. That's the problem most of the time. Sometimes it's a behavior issue. They have a pet at home.
Or kids, or it's
exactly.
hard adjusting, right.
And they'll go a day and then they come back and say, well, it just didn't work out. And we're going, okay, you gave them 1 day. Come on, you got to give them at least a week. And we do a 3-week follow-up. We call and see if they have any issues. And we do have a dog trainer on premise so that we can help them with things. Because sometimes it's just a matter of, well, if the dog is going to the bathroom in the house every day, what's your routine? If you have the same routine, then the dog will too. But if you change it every day, then he's confused, and you know. So there's usually an explanation, and we have a lot of educational material that we love to share with people, particularly with declawing cats. People don't realize they're literally cutting off the first bone section of a cat's paw.
Oh my goodness.
It's really very traumatic. So the cat goes to the bathroom, and it goes to dig in the litter box. It's painful. Oh, it's painful. Well, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'll just go over here and go on the carpet. That didn't hurt. And then the people bring them to us because, well, this cat won't use a litter box anymore. Well, no wonder. First you cut off his fingers, and then you put them in a box it's painful.
Oh
So
my goodness.
yeah, we don't recommend that. We recommend, like, it's called soft paws. There are products on the market you can use that prevent them from scratching up your furniture. There are also,
And ribboning the curtains.
yes, and then if it's a cat that just doesn't get it, you can use your fingernail clippers, just like our nails, the white, you
Right.
clip. If you clip the hook, then it doesn't catch. And if you don't want to do that, there are more expensive laser procedures that remove the nail bed without removing the bone. And yeah, it costs a lot of money, but I mean, I'm sorry, would you do it to yourself, or would you rather do the
yes.
laser? So,
Tough.
you know, it's all in a matter of how you look at an animal. Is it part of your family? To us, animals are part of our family.
Absolutely.
That's why we have the Rainbow Bridge Community Chapel. Anybody can come out and use it when it's time to say goodbye to your pet. They're part of your family, and we believe that they should be treated with dignity and respect. We do private as well as communal services for the public and for our local vet community. And if you want to have your pet back in a keepsake urn or in a
Box to
container
bury it,
of your
right,
choice,
right.
then we provide that service. And all those services that we do, all that money goes back into the shelter to take care of the homeless animals. And to me, it's always wonderful to see the living animals are helping to care for the homeless
Right.
animals. And we all know there's only one way out of this world, whether you're a human or an animal. And so why not be able to express that? There are people that come to us that, quite frankly, their pets are their children. And when they pass away,
I must admit, I'm one
they
of those.
just are.
Yes.
I am too. It's
Oh,
just
my
so
goodness.
sad. I want them to live longer. But it's nice to be able to sit in the chapel. It's non-denominational. We just say chapel because of
Right.
the purpose it serves. St. Francis, he was, the keeper of all creatures great and small. And every October 4th, we have a blessing of the animals in front of our chapel that the Padre comes out and gives a blessing to everyone. And then we remember those who have passed away in the last year. And it's free. It's just an event that we do for the public in recognition of what our pets mean to us. So we're very happy to be a part of the community to do that.
What kind of fundraisers do we have to put us up on a happier note than that? Losing a
Yes,
pet, I can't.
I know.
I don't really want to think
Let's
about
change
that.
gears.
Although that's important
Yes,
to know that
absolutely.
it's followed through, and I
Yes.
love that scenario with the Rainbow Bridge. I read on the website about tuxes and tails and catwalk, paws on the catwalk.
Yes.
I have to ask you this. I loved this pet psychic. That
Oh, yes.
I'm in
Ellen
awe.
Doreen, she is really awesome. I
I'm
got to
in
tell
awe
you.
of this because apparently she's supposed to tell you what your pet is thinking and feeling and I can't even imagine that. So just a tiny little quick thing about
Well,
pet psychic.
I have to tell you that I have personally witnessed a dog in the shelter that was just unmanageable, and she spent a few minutes with him, and she started telling us about how as a puppy he was tied up outside to a tree and he was hungry and cold and he was mistreated, and she said, I think he's better now, he's got it off his chest. And I am not lying, that dog was calm ever after that. I thought, did she inject him with something?
Oh my
It was
goodness.
amazing. So she is very gifted, and I can't tell you how many people have told me that she has helped give them insight to their pet. And
That's
because
fabulous.
the pet can only tell you so much,
Right,
you know.
right.
Too bad they can't talk. Actually, it's probably good because it would scare
It's
the living
really good,
daylights out
yes.
of me sometimes.
Well, I
but-
know you've had some events in the past, but what's coming up for the Humane Society? What can our viewers do to be a part of? I think the Tuxes and Tails Gala is coming up in August.
Yes.
So tell us just a little bit about that because we're running out of time, and I want
Okay.
to make sure we get that and the pet adoptions at the pet supermarket, and that's the one in Merritt Island on Courtney.
Pet Supermarket on Merritt Island.
okay.
We go to Petco in Vieira. We are soon going to have a mobile pet adoption unit out that we will be able to go to a variety of places, and you can just stay tuned on the website for that.
Fabulous. I
But
think when people see them, instead of going to the
Yes.
shelter, when they just see one right in their face, they really fall in love on the spot.
Absolutely. And the Tuxes and Tails Gala was actually created to celebrate our 60th anniversary. And we have many different levels of sponsorship if people want to participate. The most popular is the $500 sponsorship. It gives you a reserve seat for 2, and you can bring your pet. Doesn't have to be a dog. I had a bunny rabbit walk last year down the red carpet. You walk your pet down the red carpet. We have a VIP pause room that your pet can go and lounge in, that we have volunteers that will take care of them.
Massage.
While you are dancing and eating and whatever. Or they can come and sit at the table with you if you so choose it. We have $1,600 table sponsors that hold parties of 8, and we've had people that have done that, and half the tables you got this big Doberman sitting there looking at you, you know. I mean, it's quite a fun event.
And who do they contact to get, who would our viewers contact to get into that? Just through the website? Or?
Yeah, they would, they can call, you know, the Humane Society, the 321-636-3343 number, and inquire, or they can go online and get the information. They can download the Tuxes and Tails, the flyer, and the sponsorship materials as well. And in particular, because our facility is as old as it is, the money that we raise from it, it helps us to operate more efficiently and to take better care of the animals in our shelter. When you have a 65-year-old facility, it has a lot of repairs, you know, needed. So,
so money has to go to a lot of different places.
Yeah, and we're very grateful for that, because dogs do smile and cats are happy. But if they're not, you'll know it. So we like to keep them happy, because then they get adopted faster.
Well, we only have a couple minutes left. I know you also take rabbits, ferrets, other small animals, and give care.
Any of the pocket pets and birds. Unfortunately, people find themselves in a position, and they give us the bird, the cage, the whole thing. Even parrots. I mean, you know, parrots live, especially the big M's.
Wow.
They can live 90 years. And right now we have 2 horses that we're looking for homes for. We have a barn out back. It was a barn building literally in the early 1970s. And it's seen better days, and I just couldn't say no, because the horses had nowhere to go.
Oh my
So I have 2 of them left. So if somebody out there was looking for a horse, we have Fred and we have Ricky.
Fred and Ricky.
Yeah, Ricky's an Arabian, and Fred is a quarter horse, and he's 15. They're both geldings, but he's 15 and Ricky is 20, and they are a lively group. So
well, I hate to interrupt you. We've got so much more we could talk about. Theresa Clifton, it has been so enjoyable, and I thank you so much from the Brevard Humane Society. Thank you for being our guest today.
More information about this program is available online at millermediagroup.org. Funding for your career is provided by
Miller Media Group. Education for life.